Listen carefully.
By now, everyone should have all of their critter parts sewn. Today, we're going to add stuffing and attach all of the various body parts. By adding stuffing, we're going to make the critter fluffy, and then we're going to sew on all of the legs, ears, antennae, any body part that needs to be created. So let's get going. Rather than sewing the body before stuffing it, we're going to stuff the body first. So now is when you get your fluffy stuff. And this is so magic because the sock is knit. It will stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch. So you may have some students who stuff their body to be the fattest, roundest thing ever. You can fit all of that in there, which would be a very round cat. And it is also very hard for the student to handle. So I suggest giving them small amounts of fluff at a time. So I'm gonna start with my cat. And I want to make sure that the orange part kind of shows his head. So I'm going to push this in and sort of shape it and make him have a head before I put in more fluff for the rest of the body. You can keep stuffing, and sometimes the stuffing is going to poof out a little bit, and you might need your students to work in partners to kind of pinch it shut, or you could even use another needle to hold one end closed while you start sewing at the other end. So now I've got my cat. Got a little head with a smiley face and a fat little belly, and we're gonna sew this guy closed. As the students are sewing, they can stuff the stuffing into the body a little bit further, so that it's not hanging out. But at first, it's gonna wanna jump out. Again, you have your large knot at the end, and that's gonna go on the inside. Stuff that stuffing in there and pull the fabric out and sew along the edge of the fabric. There's a lot of pinching that is involved here that is not necessary when you're doing the legs and ears. So I'm going to push the stuffing in and keep going across. Now I'm going to take this out and stuff some more and keep pinching as we work our way across the bottom of our animal. And this is a place where a student may find it easier to go just from top to bottom because there's a lot happening with the stuffing trying to escape. So now I'm at the end, and it appears as though I don't have any big gaping holes where stuffing is falling out. So I am going to put in that infamous last knot. And I'm actually going to do that one twice. And then here's a sneaky trick. So that we don't have a tail of this thread, I'm going to put the needle into the animal, run it through and pop it out over here. And then I'm gonna pull it so that it puckers a little bit. And then when I cut it, it gets sucked back up into the animal's belly. So here we have our kitty cat body and head. So now I need to figure out, where do I want my ears? I think I want my ears to go along the edge of this line. So I'm gonna start with the little one. And I'm going to use that same thread and pop it back on the needle and decide where along here I want the ear to be. I think this is good. So I'm just gonna hold the ear onto the body, and I'm gonna go in the body and through the ear, and in the body and through the ear, all the way across. So my second ear is the larger of the two ears, and I really like that, so I want it to be super tall. I think you may want to attach this side that doesn't have stitching on it, but because I want the height, I'm going to go ahead and stitch along a side that has already been stitched. So again, I'm going to thread my needle with the remaining tail, and I'm going to start from in the body through the ear and go across the front. Aesthetically, I like striped socks, but I think it also helps students kind of line things up. So patterned socks are not only zippy and exciting to look at, but it also gives them a little bit of direction to follow. So now I'm going to go back across the other side of the ear, and I'm going to make sure that I don't catch this ear. If I were to pull right now, we would have a tangle situation. So gotta be careful not to loop in that ear. I'm gonna keep going across the back, in the animal body, out the ear. And I've got one stitch left. And I'm going to do the infamous balloon popping knot, which I left myself a tiny, tiny little loop to do that with, but it's right there. I'm going to do a second one just because that one looked a little suspicious to me. I'm going to pop the thread into the body, pull it tight, snip it, and if it doesn't go all the way in, you can just give it a tug and it will pop back in there.